It's time for Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Greetings, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of the Voice of Indie podcast. This is episode number 193, and I am your host, Beem Weeks, and with me, as usual, down there in Alabama is Mr. Stephen Gies. How you doing tonight, Stephen?
I'm doing great. We've had a stormy on and off day. It's going to be stormy tonight, but then we're looking forward to a beautiful weekend, sunny and mid to upper 70s. I'm taking a 15-year-old to get his driver's permit tomorrow, so I got a feeling this weekend I'm going to be in the passenger seat driving all over North Alabama in the sunshine and having a good time. How about you?
All right. Yeah. Well, I got out and did some actually did some yard work, prepping it for my first lawn mowing of the season, which hasn't happened yet, but that's probably going to be this weekend. Although we're looking at rain. And one thing I noticed about this show opener, the marketing monster, Beem Weeks, the marketing monster. Well, I'm not the marketing monster anymore. That's Sam took over that title. He's the marketing monster. Maybe we have to update that.
So what happened last week?
Now, last week, if you guys tuned in and you didn't hear us, you go over to Twitter and we let you know. Blog Talk Radio let us down, and this is the second time they did that. The first time was when we were going to do our year-end show, and we couldn't get into the studio. They were having issues. They had issues for a week straight, and they finally got it cleared up a day or two after the date that we were supposed to do our year-end show, so that was delayed. And last week's guest was supposed to be Caleb Palmquist, and so we're trying to reschedule him, although I've reached out to him twice to reschedule, and I don't know if he's miffed because, he couldn't get through, and, we let him know that this was out of our hands, but, he hasn't gotten back, so he may or may not appear on a later episode, and we're truly sorry for that. It's just one of those things. Blog Talk Radio apologized, but, if it happens again, we seriously have to look at maybe another outlet for this program. And there are ways of taking the past episodes over there, too, so not a big deal there. But anyway, anytime that you're looking to find us in this time slot and we're not here, always remember to go to our Twitter account, or X account, at Voice of Indie, and you will see a message up there that, hey, we're having issues with, or whatever the problem might be. So just keep that in mind. And if you want to participate in tonight's show, we've got a great guest lined up. And, as callers or as listeners, we love to hear from you. We love your input. We love it when you take part in the show with comments and questions and phone calls and your stuff you put over on Twitter. Here's how you can be a part of tonight's episode.
Call 516-453-9902 right now with your questions or comments for tonight's guest. Or post a note on Twitter with hashtag Fresh Ink Group in the body of the tweet, and we'll read it on air. That's 516-453-9902 or hashtag Fresh Ink Group on Twitter.
All right, we've got a whole bunch of books in the pipeline, several of which expect to be popping in the next couple of weeks or so. Our most recent publication is Jan Sykes' A Beggar's Bargain, which is book one in the Bargainers series. That book's out there rocking and rolling, doing very well, getting lots of attention. Jan's been doing blog tours and other kinds of promotions, and she's getting ready to do a physical book signing tour. And she's traveling to Missouri, which is where the book takes place. If you check today's Fresh Ink Group newsletter, and find out what's going on there, you'll see that Jan has received a letter from a Missouri legislator talking about what an important thing it is for her book to have its story placed in Dade County, Missouri, which this legislator covers. So it's a real cool letter of appreciation. Check that out in today's newsletter. And while you're at it, get over and order your copy of A Beggar's Bargain by Jan Sykes.
That book is getting some really good, strong reviews right now. 5 stars. I'm hearing good things from these reviewers. So, like Stephen just said, go grab a copy. The third and fourth Ort Chronicles by Robert G. Willis-Croft outran A Civilization in Hiding and keyed A Lost Civilization. Both are out now, and they are selling like gangbusters, as the kids like to say these days. Just kidding. I don't know that any kids say that, but they're selling really well. And, Robert G. Willis-Croft, he's a prolific writer, and his work is rocking it right now. So get out there and grab the third and the fourth Orc Chronicles. Rand, A Civilization in Hiding, and Keed, A Lost Civilization. Grab them now. And as Stephen just mentioned, this morning's newsletter talked about the legislator's letter that Jan Sykes received, and there's all kinds of really cool stuff in there. We don't pack this thing so full where it takes you, 4 hours to read. This is a 20-minute read, and you're up to date. Once you're done reading it, you're up to date with all things in indie publishing, Voice of Indie, all that stuff. So if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, why not? Get over here and subscribe, and here's how you can do that.
Stay on top of these podcasts and all things Fresh Ink Group with our weekly digital newsletter. New releases, videos, stories, excerpts, interviews, and more. Sign up now on the homepage of FreshInkGroup.com and be the one who knows what's what.
What?
All right, let's take a quick look at the top 25 print bestsellers from Fresh Ink Group. Now, I want to clarify that what the numbers we're looking at here is print books, hardcovers and soft covers that we sell to distributors. We don't know how many go from a distributor to Amazon because we sell to the distributors, and then stores like Amazon order from them. Now, ebook sales like Kindle through Amazon and Barnes & Noble's Nook and Rakuten's Kobo and some of the other formats, we're not counting any of those in here either because I don't have quick access to those numbers. We're just looking at print books, hardcover and softcover that got sold to distributors. All right, Robert G. Willis-Croft comes in at 25 on the list with Operation Whiteout, a Mac McDowell mission, and that's one of the 4 Mac McDowell mission books by Willis-Croft. Above that, we've got David Carroll's I Won't Be Your Scapegoat, David Carroll's Homemade Social Media Blunders. That's the hardcover edition, Beem. So he's in there with a hardcover selling. Above that, Kenneth Lindquist's How to Teach Driving Instructors Edition. And that's the paperback. And then, of course, we've got some food truck books. We've got How to Start and Run Your Own Food Truck Business in Georgia by A.K. Wengler. We've got Sassy Discovers the AME Church by B.A. Johnson. That's the first of her 2 Sassy books. Those are chapter books, illustrated chapter books for young adults and children. And we're getting ready to put out Pandemonium in Puzzle Town by B.A. Johnson, which is not a Sassy book, but look for that in the next couple of weeks. Now, Robert McKenzie. He's been on this show a few times. He's got The Chair, Volume 1, Lightning, Thunder, and Glory on the list here. That's the first of so far 4 books in his Chair series. We're working on number 5 now. So, congratulations, Robert. Your first book in the Chair series has made our top 25. Now let's go back to Willis-Croft again. Icicle, a Tensor Matrix, the first Orc Chronicle. Now, that's the first of 4 Orc Chronicle books by Willis-Croft. And if you look at today's newsletter, you'll see that the third one, called Rand, has been trending way, way up in sales on Amazon. If you look at that same graphic that's in there, too, you'll see that his newly published short story, Reality Hack, has been running in the top 10 Kindle bestsellers. Top 10 Kindle bestsellers on Amazon. That is really rocking some numbers. So, on our list, Icicle, a Tensor Matrix, the first Orc Chronicle. Now, above that, we've got some Larry Landgraf. We haven't talked to Larry in a while. The Adventures of Ali Orangutan. That's a illustrated chapter book for children and young adults, and it's about an orangutan that's being shipped to a zoo, and he escapes. Hijinks ensue. Above that, Mark Marlowe. Here's a thriller that we published a while back, and it's been really, really rocking on these lists for the last month or so. Operation Counterpunch by Mark Marlowe. Get this, Beam, hardcover edition.
Wow.
That's a novel. That's a thriller novel, and the hardcover edition is riding our list. Above that, another hardcover novel, Robert Willis-Croft's Operation Ivy Bells, a Mac McDowell mission. That's the first of the 4 Mac McDowell books. Now, above that, this is always fun to see, Dick Farrer Jr., The Rise and Fall of a Construction Giant, The History, People, and Stories of CFW Construction. It's been 5 years since we put that book out, and Dick has noticed a big uptick in interest in the last month or so. So it's way up here on our list. Now, we got another David Carroll. What do you think it is, Beem?
Hello, Chattanooga.
Famous People Who Have Visited the Tennessee Valley.
Yeah,
that's a cool book.
That really is.
Yeah, now above that, we're back to Icicle, a Tensor Matrix, the First Orc Chronicle again, but the hardcover edition is outselling the softcover. That is very cool.
Wow.
Here we are with the paperback edition of My Three Wishes, Memoir of a Hawaiian Dancer Whose Family Troupe Traveled the World, and that's by Kanoi K. That's a very cool book with lots of good pictures in it.
Yeah, that was a kind of a fun book, too. I mean, she was a blast to have on the show. We should have her back on here before too long.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Jerry Pate, retired U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander. His hardcover edition is way up here on the list. Submariner, 30 Years of Hijinks and Keeping the Fleet Afloat, and that's by Jerry Pate. Now, we're back to I Won't Be Your Scapegoat again, David Carroll's Homemade Social Media Blunders, but this is the paperback edition. Above that, the hardcover edition of Celebrate 98, The Untold Stories Behind the Tennessee Football Vols' 1998 National Championship. College football season has been over for 3-4 months now, and yet this book is still trending in our top 10 print bestsellers right now. Now here's some Janice D. Toney, Dr. Toney's book, Daddy Yo-Yo and the Legendary Marble Tournament. This is an illustrated chapter book for children, and Beem, it's the hardcover edition.
That's incredible, all these hardcovers that are selling pretty well.
Now, Dr. Helen Burrell, the paperback edition of her American Agony, The Opioid War Against Patients in Pain. And then above that, How to Teach Driving Behind the Wheel, Lesson by Lesson, the Instructor's Edition. That's not to be mixed up with the Parents Edition. He's got one of each. And this is by Kenneth Lindquist, and it's the hardcover edition. Now, this gets us to the top 5. Now, one of these is, actually two of these, is by Mark Herndon. He was the drummer for Alabama for almost 3 decades. And he's out there making music now with his country singer star wife, Leah Seawright. And she's got a new video and a new song out that we're going to be talking about in the coming weeks.
Great
but right
song.
now, she's getting a lot of publicity and things is happening for the Herndons. And we've got The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip, the memoir by Country Music Hall of Fame drummer Mark Herndon. We've got his paperback edition in the number 5 slot. And that makes me wonder, where's the hardcover? Because I suspect it's higher than number 5. But let's go to number 4. Paperback edition of Celebrate 98, The Untold Stories Behind the Tennessee Football Vols' 1998 National Championship. Yep, still selling college football books. That's the paperback edition. Now that gets us to the top 3. Books 2 and 3, same book. Jan Sykes, A Beggar's Bargain. Book 1 in the hardcover series. She's got hardcover and paperback editions riding in the number 2 and number 3 slots on our print bestsellers this week. She's got quite a few hardcovers here, and then her number of paperbacks is exactly twice as many as the hardcovers. That takes us up to number 2. So what's in that number 1 slot? Mark Herndon. The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip, and, get this, Beem, it's the hardcover edition. That's riding in number 1 this week. Congratulations to all of you.
Yeah, congratulations. Okay, so I got a couple of things to read over here on Twitter. We got Verwayne Greenhill. He's got a couple of tweets here, or posts on X, I guess we would call him now. He says, the wife and I are in the audience and ready for the show. Lisa isn't feeling the best, but she says that I made her sick. LOL, life goes on. All right, Verwayne, what'd you do? Cook an off meal? Use that 4-month-old gallon of milk in there. Well, Lisa, we hope you're feeling better. We really do. We enjoy having you and Verwayne in the audience every week. These two are here faithfully. And here's another thing that Verwayne says. This is the second post. He says, the FIG newsletter is the first email I read on Wednesday mornings. Fantastic.
He's got a third post there.
Okay, well, let me hit refresh because I'm not seeing the third. And there it is. Congrats to all my Fresh Ink Group authors. Yep, all right. There you go. Congratulations to all those authors.
Yep.
And, the newsletter. Verwayne is up to date on everything that's going on. He knows what's what and who's who and blah, blah, blah. So, you want to know what's going on, get subscribed to it. It's an easy thing to do. Archives, if you miss an episode of this show, we've got an extensive archive. We are closing in on episode number 200. This is our third year doing this. Season 3 is well underway. We're moving towards episode number 200, and we've got them all in the archive. If you've got a favorite episode, Mark Herndon from Alabama, he's been on the show 3 times. This guy is always a hoot to listen to. He's got some great stories. Go in the archives and find one of those episodes. You'll enjoy it. If you want to find out how to track those episodes down, here's how you can do that.
Find your favorite show in the Voice of Indie archives on YouTube at Fresh Ink Group, StephenGees.com, BeamWeeks.com, FreshInkGroup.com, and on Spotify. And now you can listen on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and tune in. Just search The Voice of Indie, all one word.
All right. I think we're going to roll a commercial before we bring in this week's guest, since we're talking about Mr. Herndon. Here's his the ad for The High Road.
What drives a man to spend 26 years performing night after night? To persevere through a stifling tour bus, bad food, strange women, flared tempers, a plane nearly blown from the sky. Just how did that troubled military brat with a dream claw his way from dirt floor dive bar shows to the world's biggest stages? Aviator, author, and country music Hall of Fame drummer Mark Herndon lived that dream playing with Alabama, one of the most popular and celebrated bands of all time. He learned some hard lessons about people and life, the music industry, the accolades and awards, how easy it is to lose it all, and how hard it is to survive, to embrace sobriety, to live even one more day. Herndon's poignant memoir offers a tale at once cautionary and inspirational, delightful and heartbreaking, funny yet deeply personal. From innocence to rebellion to acceptance, can a man still flourish when the spotlight dims? Are true forgiveness, redemption, and serenity even possible when the powerful say everything you achieved somehow doesn't even count? That you're not who you and everyone who matters thought you were? Find all this and more in Mark's remarkable memoir, The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip, proudly published by Fresh Ink Group in paperback and ebooks, and now in the keepsake dust-jacketed hardcover edition demanded by true fans. Mark Herndon refuses to slow down, so look back, look ahead, and join him on the trip. He's taking the high road.
All right, the high road. That's number 1 this week. That's the hardcover was number 1, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, hardcover.
All right. Yeah, and that is a fantastic book. Great stories, and like the title says, Mark took the high road. He could have exposed the dirty underbelly of it all, of the entertainment business and certain people involved with that industry, but he didn't. He took the high road, and we're glad to have him as one of our authors. Okay, so we have a interesting guest tonight. As a prolific author from the Boston area, Peter F. Crowley writes in various forms, including short fiction, op-eds, poetry, and academic essays. In 2020, his poetry book, Those Who Hold Up the Earth, was published by Kelsey Books and received impressive reviews by Kirkus Review, the Bangladeshi New Age, and 2 local Boston area newspapers. His writing can be found in Middle East Monitor, ZNet or ZNet, 34th Parallel, Piff Magazine, Galway Review, Digging the Fat, Adelaide's Short Story Poetry Award anthologies. He was a finalist in both, and The Opiate. And welcome to the show, Peter F. Crowley.
Welcome, Peter.
Hey, thank you, Beem and Stephen. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, to start things off, we know you're in the Boston area. Are you originally from Boston? If not, where are you originally from, and where else have you lived, and what brought you to Boston if you're not originally from Boston?
I'm actually from the area originally. I'm from a town about 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away. It was became famous for having water in the ground that poisoned the well, basically. It became famous during civil action. John Travolta was in that. I think that came out in the 90s. Some people I grew up with, some families had leukemia from the water, from drinking the water there, and I don't know. And I kind of grew up in Woburn, and then I kind of moved around just the Boston area, and then the kind of Western Mass near UMass Amherst when I was in college age, and I kind of back to the Boston area, Somerville, just bounced around the various suburbs of Boston throughout my life. So I've kind of stayed in the Mass for the most part throughout my life.
So you can do the Boston accent great, right?
What are you talking about? Wicked good. Wicked good.
Yeah.
It's a killer.
Well, Peter, what kind of kid were you growing up in the Boston area, Woburn, and the local environs? Were you into reading and writing from an early age?
I always liked reading. I think like Woburn is like more focused on like sports. We're really good in sports like football and baseball, and I think my parents also they encouraged me to go that route more. And I was pretty good at, very good at baseball, I would say. And I pitched no hitters and stuff. I was on all-star teams. I was probably going to go into, probably get a scholarship for a good college, maybe Cal State or something like that. That's really good in baseball. And then writing kind of pulled me away from that because I think it was too much focus on sports. And then I think there was a kind of a cutting off point where I just had to let sports go because it was becoming too intense. And I almost couldn't do anything else. And so, by the time I was, 15, 16, I was just, gravitating towards more creative pursuits, primarily writing.
What were you writing at that age?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, can you repeat that?
What were you writing at that age?
So I think I was just trying anything. I was probably just going for poetry and some I was reading some Herman Hesse and some sort of science fiction-y stuff that I read from Hesse, even though he doesn't do too much science fiction. I was kind of influenced by that, and I think I wrote some story about some person comes down from outer space, and they try to understand what life's like and in the world, and just kind of interpreting everything as if they have no references whatsoever. It didn't go very far. And I wrote various poems, too. They weren't very good. I thought they were great then, of course, but they're kind of, stuff you kind of look back on and laugh.
Yeah, well, I think all of us writers are like that. You look at some of your early stuff, and, you learn a lot as you go along, so, of course, your writing is going to reflect that. It's going to reflect how far you've come along. But there's some writers I know that have held on to those old stories and whatnot, and they've rewritten them and, with what they've learned over the years, and they end up in short story collections or whatever, and, they've had some success with them. So, don't writers out there, don't throw your old work out just because it's not up to snuff to where you are today. Use it as the basis to rewrite.
Yeah.
Now, you kind of touched a little bit on your education there, moving around from here and there. So let's get a little deeper in there. What sort of education? What did you major in? Do you have any future plans to go back to school? And does this work towards your writing? Did you take classes that dealt with writing to help you where you're now?
I think I'll take the first part of that first. No, I never took any writing classes. I'm sort of at the school where you kind of either have it or you don't, and maybe I don't have it, but if I don't have it, then that's fine. But I don't think like anyone can actually teach you to write, so to speak. I kind of had a non-linear path as far as my education goes. I kind of stopped trying in high school. When I broke away from sports, I stopped trying in high school. I didn't even I challenged my English teacher to fail me if I didn't do a presentation on the flag or something. I think it was the flag by Camus, because I didn't feel like doing a presentation. He was like, "You won't graduate if you don't do that." And I'm like, "Well, whatever." And then he gave me a D instead because I just didn't do a presentation. So I didn't go to college for a little bit. I kind of took a couple of years off, and then I ended up going back for a couple of years. Didn't work, and then I worked more as a courier for a while, just kind of around the Boston area, doing just driving here, there, and everywhere. And then I kind of just got bored with that. By the time I was like 26, 27, I went to Salem State University, majored in history. I was thinking initially I'd be a history teacher because I love history. But then as I proceeded in my studies, I was like, I don't want to stand in front of people all day, every day, especially kids. I love kids, but I don't know if I want to stand in front of them all day, every day. And then I kind of, after graduating there, I got a job at a kind of corporate place where actually I still work. I won't get too much into that, but I still work there. And then after a couple of years there, I kind of gravitated more towards global studies and international relations, and I got a degree from Northeastern in global studies, and kind of trying to figure out the international dynamics and all that stuff. And that's kind of where I am now. So it's kind of unrelated to actually creative writing, so to speak.
Okay. Well,
all right. Well,
we are talking with right now. We're talking with Peter F. Crowley. Listeners, the phone lines are open, so why don't you give us a call? Question, comment, 516-453-9902. That's 516-453-9902. We're going to play a couple of commercials, and we will be right back with Peter F. Crowley.
A shocking proposal that changes everything. Desperate to honor his father's dying wish, Laken Martin vows to do whatever it takes to save the family farm. Once the Army discharges him following World War II, Laken returns to Missouri to find his legacy in shambles and in jeopardy. A foreclosure notice from the bank doubles the threat. He appeals to the local banker for more time, a chance to rebuild, plant, and harvest crops, and time to heal far away from the noise of bombs and gunfire. But the banker firmly denies his request. Now what? Then the banker makes an alternative proposition. Marry his unwanted daughter, Sarah Beth, in exchange for a 2-year extension. Out of options, money, and time, Laken agrees to the bargain. Now he has 2 years to make a living off the land while he shares his life with a stranger. Read A Beggar's Bargain, Book 1 in the Bargainer series by best-selling author Jan Sykes. Available worldwide from multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. A Beggar's Bargain by Jan Sykes.
Sarah Jameson, a nurse at County Central Hospital, survives an accident that kills her 2 young children. While comatose, she travels into the heavenly realm where she visits with her precious little ones. She is given a choice: return to her husband, Jack, or remain with her children in their celestial home. Jack was not in the fated automobile. Though he heard the crash and ran to help, there was nothing he could do. He suffers the loss of his children, fears the potential demise of his wife and wonders about his own sanity. His struggle with PTSD from his military years has returned, and at times he cannot distinguish between the present and the past. An accident tragically changed the lives of this young family, but out of sorrow emerges unexpected blessings. You'll be deeply moved by Gwen M. Plano's new novel, The Soul Whisperer's Decision, proudly published by Fresh Ink Group in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. The Soul Whisperer's Decision by Gwen M. Plano.
And that's another one that's getting a lot of really good reviews. Gwen is a stellar writer, so she's a great storyteller. So get out there and grab a copy of The Soul Whisperer's Decision, as well as A Beggar's Bargain by Jan Sykes. Now, we do have callers. See that? Go into commercial and get the callers all lined up, and they appear to be off from the Boston area. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to name the last 4 digits of your phone number, because I can't go by area codes and whatnot, because they're, there's 3 callers and 2 of them are the same. So I'm going to do the last 4 digits of your phone number, and you will be the one that is on the air. So right now we're going to go with the last 4 digits are 4048. You are on the air. How you doing? What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Linda. I'm calling from Salem, Massachusetts. Hi.
Hi, Linda.
This is a cool town. Hi. Hey, it's great to listen to this. I've never listened to this podcast before. I'm a friend of Pete's, a fellow writer, and Pete told me he was appearing on this podcast, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And I had a question for Pete. Pete, I'm going to read a couple of quotes from 2 poets, and I'd love for you to sort of comment on where you feel you sort of fit in there. So one is by Wallace Stevens, who said a poet's job is to relate to the people in order to help them live their lives. And then W.H. Auden said, poetry makes nothing happen. And I know you're an activist. You're not a sort of passive person. And I'm wondering, between those 2 very different takes on poetry, I mean, what do you think? Where do you fall? Sorry to clobber you over the head with some heavy stuff here, but I thought you're up to the job to respond. So
yeah, Peter, we're going to need citations too.
Yeah, sounds good. Linda, that's a great question. It's really a tough question, though, right? Because it's I mean, poets, any writers, or any creative people, I think they have most creative people, and sometimes myself included, have an exaggerated sense of themselves, how much they impact people and how important they are. And of course, I'm not really very well known, but that goes to actually well-known people. Even well-known people, celebrities, don't have that much of an impact on people as much as they think they do. That said, I think if you have a message to say, if you think you have clarity of mind and you think you are trying to say something decent and that maybe not be as popular as other people would like, I don't know, maybe not be the most popular thing to say. I think it's important to say it, whether you're a writer, poet, short fiction writer, a celebrity chef, whatever you might be, anything, or essentially anyone in the world, but particularly creative people, as you're referring to. I think it's important to say that, but at the same time, as I think you referenced Auden, will you change anything with that?
Poetry makes nothing happen.
Right. Does poetry actually make anything happen? Sometimes, but not usually, right? I mean, to be blunt, not typically, because there's a fraction of the population that read poetry. And,
most people say it's useless. I mean, I saw I've seen some really horrific things said about it, and that it's
sure.
a useless genre, and it's really, doesn't do anything. But I of course I don't feel that way. I mean, I think it's essential.
I don't know,
and you
useless,
do it
but,
really well. And in your book, Empire's End, I mean, it's just there's a lot of real powerful ideas in your poems, and you're talking about social justice and speaking truth to power, and talking about this things that are happening in our world that are wrong, and sort of asking really difficult questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of poetry too that's been turned into songs, and that have gone out there and made a big impact too. Because some songs have really, really penetrated and made people think and made some change. Like when the Vegetable Growers Association did that "Give Peas a Chance" one. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially I'm thinking Bob Dylan, of course. Yeah.
But I don't think that I would never call poetry useless. I think it may not touch everybody, but the people that it does touch. I mean, there's some poems that have put a lump in my throat that have moved me. And like Stephen just said, they've been turned into songs. That's what song lyrics are. They're poetry. I mean, that's what it is. Poetry.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Bob Dylan was a poet, right? I mean, Masters of War. That song still gives me chills. Talk about speaking truth to power.
That's a Dylan song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wrote it when he was like 21, I think, too, or 20.
Wow.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in, Linda. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Linda. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Now we are going to go to the next one. The next caller is going to be 4870. 4870. You are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Dan, and I'm calling from the Boston area. And
hello, Dan.
I also know Pete.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah,
hey, Dan.
Thank you. Been enjoying the interview. And one thing that caught my attention was, Pete, when you said you're from the school where you don't think anyone can teach someone to write, or anyone can teach you to write. And that was really interesting and made me think. I do a little writing, some songs, and I think there's aspects of that I really agree with, and then others that I maybe kind of question and think like, well, I've had a lot of teachers, maybe not necessarily directly, but anyway, my question to you is just to expand on that and say more about what that means to you and how you learn to write.
Hey, Dan, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think I probably misspoke, and I was thinking more of MFA programs in specific writing courses, where it almost seems like this is the designated path to publication in the literary agent, where you can get a big publisher after you kind of go a certain path. You pay to play almost. You pay a certain amount for the course or the MFA degree, and then you kind of get the literary agent's ear. Basically, I saw some courses. I was considering them, but like Grub Street, for instance, and I saw some courses where you pay like $3,000, and you after the course, it's a year-long course, and then you can talk to a literary agent at the end. They won't promise that they're going to publish you or sign you, but they will talk to you. And obviously you have their ear then, as opposed to a random email of someone like me, like some writer that's kind of published some books, but doesn't have a big publisher or anything like that. So I think that's what I was referring to more. I think you can absolutely learn from, of course, other writers. You can't, no one lives in a vacuum, so you can't learn only from yourself. You have to learn from other writers, including dead writers or live writers that you never meet, like Kerouac or Hemingway or whoever floats your boat. But then also other writers, other contemporaries that that you talk to, that give you feedback, all that kind of stuff. I think that's that's how I've learned through my contemporaries that I know, and they've given me feedback, and I also listen to what they're writing, and then people like Kerouac or I don't know, Hemingway, maybe less than Kerouac, but maybe Dostoevsky, people like that, or Joyce. I think learning from the masters and also from people you actually know, and I think that's the way to learn more than an MFA program or a course. So I wouldn't say you can't learn from others by any means, but
sure,
an official course that you pay to play almost.
I see. Oh, cool. Thanks for saying more about that. That was actually one of the things that it made me think of immediately, was that I just learned so much by reading more than anything else. Not trying to learn something specifically, even just reading and
that makes sense.
Soaking things up.
Because that's where it is. I mean, that's the writing. If you don't read anything, then you have no basis for writing anything, right? I mean, maybe you would, but it'd be very minimal and very simplistic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, I also learned that you were a pitcher, which I was very happy to hear. I
pitcher?
Oh yeah, I was a big time pitcher. Yeah, not to brag, but I can brag now because I gave it up and I kind of ran away from that. But I pitched some no hitters in high school, and I think there were some college scouts there from I think Cal State or some people, but I kind of I shrugged that off to, I don't know, maybe probably wasn't rational if I was thinking it'd be the ideal career with the most money. Not a smart move, but I'm glad I did what I did. I just kind of shrugged that off, including academic studies at that time. Just kind of stayed in my room and smoked some joints and drank quite a bit and wrote some stuff.
College.
Yeah, not even college.
Not even high school. That was me in
high school.
Am I supposed to quit all that now that I'm past college?
No way.
All right. Well, thanks for calling.
Good talking to you, Dan.
Yeah, Dan. Keep spreading the word around the Boston area. Peter F. Crowley's got some books out.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So we are going to take a commercial break. We have another caller. So caller, hold on, and we will get to you as soon as we get back from these commercials or this commercial.
With good jobs so hard to find, especially in rapidly expanding Florida, owning your own food truck could be the best option. It's the least expensive startup, and you can be fully operational in mere months. The rules and regulations can be a bit complex, and no single source has offered all the answers. Until now. How to Start and Run Your Own Food Truck Business in Florida by food truck veteran A.K. Wingler is the step-by-step guide that takes you from good idea to great success. Sure, it's hard work, but exciting, mobile, flexible, and highly profitable. And you get to be your own boss and set your own hours. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group, this book tells you how and where to make money in this exploding independent industry. Grab your copy in laminated hardcover, glossy softcover, or any of the major ebook formats at retailers worldwide. Even if you're just curious for now, this guide is the best way to discover if a food truck business is right for you.
All right, we are talking with Peter F. Crowley, and we have another caller. This I don't have the name to go off with the last four digits because this is the only caller on hold. And it's another Boston caller. This is Fenway Park area. Hello, Boston. You're on the air. What's your name?
Hey.
Hello.
I think that's me, but I'm not sure. Am I the only one left?
You're the only one left.
Thanks.
Hi, Stephanie.
I'm Liz. I'm.
Oh, Liz.
Yes.
Hi, Liz. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks. I'm channeling New York City 25 years ago. I'm thinking about Pete's poem called "A Better Way to Die," and just how profound that is, and it makes me think about a better way to live, and just wondering what his thoughts are on that.
Ooh. Wow. We've got a deep one.
Yeah, that poem, thanks for the question, Liz, and thanks for calling. That poem, don't know, it came out really easy to write for some reason. But the whole probably was staying in my head for a while. During COVID, I had two fairly close aunts that passed away. The one that was in my mind when I wrote that was she was suffering from cancer for about 5 years. She was on chemo on and off for a while. That didn't work too well. It kind of staved things off for about 3 years, and then she had stem cell replacement therapy, and that seemed to put everything into remission. However, once the cancer went into remission, stem cells, if they don't align correctly with your own body, they can cause problems. So she went blind, and then she had multiple things happen to her at once that just led to a sudden, pretty quick downfall and then death. So it was just kind of thinking of her and other people who just so many people suffer from cancer and the long process of death. And maybe I'm not answering your question correctly, but that poem is about the long process of death and kind of trying to illustrate that as succinctly as I possibly could. I tried to make it a little bit sublime as well. But is there a better way to live? I don't know. Is there a better way to live than how we're living now? Who knows? Probably, but I don't have the answers. That was more about just the difficulty of a long dying process that people can avoid, really. Well, many people can avoid, at least.
Interesting. All right.
So what do you think, Liz? Did he answer the question?
So this is why people don't invite me to parties, because they ask questions like this. I think I was particularly struck by the line that, like the fish beneath the shadowed surfaces, because I think often we reach for what we can see or what we can't see, and just the parallels between life and death around that, like just in terms of, things that are right there that are hard to acknowledge. And I was also going through my own stuff when I read that poem, so I think I really appreciated it even more.
So you're able to connect with it. And this is what I was talking about with the previous, talking about somebody had said poetry is useless. And no, it's not, because if you touch one person with it and they make that connection and it means something to them that it might not have meant to the writer, that's always a good thing.
Agreed. And I appreciate when things are dumbed down. I just want to also acknowledge that. Thank you.
All right.
Is that poem, Liz, in Empire's End?
I can't remember
you know where
off the
you
top
saw
of
it?
my head.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is? Okay.
I'll just give you the answer. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
All right.
But that idea about a shadow kind of, or a shadowed surface or something like just there, present, but you're not aware of it. Just like that, not to go back to cancer, it's a pretty depressing subject, but people have cancer for years and they have no idea they have it. It's just it's there, it's growing, but then those symptoms are present until they are, and then it's often too late to treat.
Yeah.
Okay. No more gloominess. Sorry.
Yeah. I if there's another podcast, I'll call with a happy question. I promise. Thank you.
Next, we're going to discuss dead puppies.
Yeah. Well, now, Liz,
Okay.
Liz, my next party,
in.
you're invited.
I'm in. Thank you.
All right.
Well, thank you for calling in, Liz. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
All right, we're talking to Peter F. Crowley. The phone lines are still open if anybody wants to call in at 516-453-9902. We're going to roll another commercial now and give you time to call in.
Yeah.
North Korea will be the biggest challenge to your presidency, warned the outgoing commander-in-chief. But to imprisoned journalist John Jason, surviving each day in the prison camp proves the greatest challenge of his life. protecting beautiful young prisoner Jisoo has also grown increasingly difficult for this slight man, otherwise powerless, but for his prowess at deceiving their captors. Navy SEAL Andrew Gunner Jackson is tasked by the president himself with gathering intel from the Hermit Kingdom. It's a dangerous gamble where capture means summary execution, if he's lucky, or death the slow way in a North Korean prison re-education camp. Information is the least of his concerns, though as the president agrees, he can leverage this mission to satisfy a few goals of his own. How far will each man go to fend off the cruel machinations of a ruthless dictator? And will that be enough for either to survive? Operation Counterpunch is ready to read now. Proudly published in hardcover, paperback, and all ebook formats by Fresh Ink Group. By Mark Marlowe. Operation Counterpunch.
All right, we are talking with author and poet Peter F. Crowley, and now Liz brought up a poem from your Empire's End collection, which came out last October, I believe. Let's talk a little bit about that. What went into this? How many poems are we looking at, and over what period of time did you write these? Are these stuff you've collected over years, or did you write them specifically for this?
These are fairly recent, given that they were accepted probably last April. So, yeah, they're probably within the 2022 and 2021 period. When I think I put it together when I realized I was going to have a kid. I was like, I want to have a second book under my belt before I have a kid, for whatever reason, just some ego thing. But yeah, so they're mostly put together from that perspective, and also I realized that I did have a lot of poems like kind of coming up that all has this kind of a little darker theme that I wrote mostly during the pandemic, or a little before, or maybe a speck after the really bad part of it. So it's a little darker. I mean, the cover has a guillotine on it and a kind of darker reddish sky with the shimmering blade of the guillotine. So it has a darker theme throughout it, and as Liz alluded to, that the theme of dying is there for sure, and other darker themes as well.
So no stories about unicorns, no poems about unicorns?
No, but I mean, there are some bright spots. I think there's a poem about like a kid boxing with his dad. So I think there's some random bright spots, or like some open mic night, where just you kind of see the characters, the interesting characters there. But other than that, it's a little darker, a little satiric, a lot of death kind of themed poems.
All right.
So
I was going to say, for me, the poems, those are the ones that I always enjoy. We've got an author, Stephen Skibicki, who wrote a collection, American Darkness. It's got short stories in it too, but it's a lot of poems, and there's some really dark kind of stuff in there. And I enjoyed editing that. It was a blast to edit it, just because that's such good poetry. And the darkness, there's just something about that, the darkness, that kind of draws people in.
Yeah. So how did you publish Empire's End, Peter?
I kind of looked around for a kind of a publisher that would kind of let you do pretty much what you like with the book and wouldn't edit too much. And I kind of went with Alien Buddha Press, which is I think an Arizona-based publisher.
Okay. And you're happy with how that worked with you?
Yeah, I mean, small publishers, for the most part, they're not promoting your stuff too much. They might give you some advice here and there. They might try to get a couple reviews for you or promote on their website and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm relatively happy, but I'm not like, jumping up and down.
All right, well, that's your book of poetry. Now you've got That Night and Other Stories. Why don't you tell us about that short story collection?
Sure. This is also put together during the pandemic. They were published within a week of each other last October, so they kind of were mostly dark, satiric works published during the, written and almost published during the pandemic. And I think it has more of a mix, I would say. That Night Another Stories is one kind of almost, I don't want to say ghost story because that sounds a little too over the top, but a little like darker themed story with a kind of questionable ghost in there. Like there's initials on a basement wall, and the person moves out, and then the new people in that house hear some noises, and they're wondering what the initials mean, if the initials are causing these sounds to occur, and then they contact the person who used to live there, and they're trying to figure out if the person who used to live there is actually the ghost or is actually a dead living person causing their noises at night. So it's a little like that, but then it's also some straight ahead stories of just kind of a kind of detailed picture of someone getting dumped, at a restaurant. Kind of getting the nuances there and of what they're eating and how the guy's just kind of chewing on a huge pork sandwich, and the girl who's about to dump him is just kind of totally turned off and kind of just out of it already, and everything he does is just making her, step further and further away. So it's a little bit of a mix, but it does have a darker satiric theme running through it.
Oh, and then that was published by CAAB Publishing?
Yeah, CAAB, they're based in United Kingdom. I know, like, it might not be intuitive, like, why would I do that? Why would I go with that? I don't know. I thought like maybe a little bit of magical thinking. Hendrix went to UK. He became kind of famous there, and he came back. He did Monterey Pop and all that stuff afterwards. He became pretty famous, played Woodstock. So, I mean, I'm kind of kidding, but, I thought maybe it would be good luck. I don't know. To switch it up a little bit, published in the UK.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay, we're still talking to Peter F. Crowley, people. It's getting down to your last chances to call in if you want. 516-453-9902. We're going to play a couple commercials.
Fresh Ink Group presents, from author Stephen Gies, Been There, Noted That, essays in tribute to life, observations, inspiration, remembrance, and noteworthies to share. The simple lives of everyday people in a mundane world prove extraordinary in this collection of 54 personal experience essays by novelist Stephen Gies. The eclectic mix of memoir, commentary, humor, and appreciation covers a wide range of topics, each illustrated by artists and photographers from the Fresh Ink Group. Many of these essays have appeared in other book anthologies such as Chicken Soup, or in popular magazines, newspapers, websites, and the author's site, www.stephengies.com. Some appear in this collection for the first time. Some pieces may resonate in ways that touch you deeply. Others might well remind you of people you've known and loved. Some convey direct messages you might want to pass along, such as appreciation for friendship, birthday wishes, and graduation congratulations. Several explore remembrance, a way to share our search for meaning as we grieve. From cautionary tales to poignant pokes at our uniquely human foibles, Gies catches what many of us miss, then considers how we might all share the most poignant of lessons. Been There, Noted That aims to reveal who we are, examine where we've been, and discover what we dare strive to become. Been There, Noted That, Essays in Tribute to Life, is available worldwide in print editions and ebook editions, including iBook, Kindle, Nook, and more. Been There, Noted That is proudly published by the Fresh Ink Group.
While all of Mississippi bakes in the scorching summer of 1925, sudden orphanhood wraps its icy embrace around Emily Ann Baby Teagarden, a pretty young teen. Taken in by an aunt bent on ridding herself of this unexpected burden, Baby Teagarden plots her escape using the only means at her disposal, a voice that brings church ladies to righteous tears and makes both angels and devils take notice. I'm going to New York City to sing jazz, she brags to anybody who'll listen. But the Big Apple, well, it's an awful long way from that dry patch of earth she's always called home. So when the smoky stages of New Orleans speakeasies give a whistle, offering all sorts of shortcuts, Emily Ann soon learns it's the whorehouses and opium dens that can sidetrack a girl and dim a spotlight. And knowing the wrong people can snuff it out. Jazz Baby just wants to sing, not fight to stay alive. Jazz Baby is available now in dust-jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook editions worldwide. Jazz Baby by Beem Weeks is proudly published by Fresh Ink Group.
All right. So we are talking with Peter F. Crowley. We have a third book. This was actually his first book. Those Who Hold Up the Earth. Tell us a little bit about this. This is a poetry collection. This, I believe, was your first published book?
Yes, it was. I guess this is a little different from my other books in that it kind of takes everything I kind of wrote up to that point when I think I was nearing 40 at that point when I submitted it to the publisher and it was accepted. And I did grab stuff, as we were talking earlier, from probably I wrote when I was a couple things that I wrote when I was 22 or 23 that there's a few and far between that are a little okay, but that are good. And I kind of put it in there, and also more recent stuff that I wrote. And I think the theme overall, as this title would suggest, is the forgotten people of the earth and kind of paying homage to them, from dishwashers to pavers to nannies to rickshaw drivers and everyone else that I'm not mentioning right now.
So this one was published by Kelsey Books. So all three of your books have different publishers. What's the story behind Kelsey Books?
I think the story there is I had more time to do research. I kind of didn't have a kid yet, so I had more time to do research, and I found this really great publisher that published really great poetry books. And I kind of submitted there, and I crossed my fingers, and it was accepted. And while they're really good, like other places, they're not huge at promoting. They give me suggestions of where I can go for book reviews and all that stuff, and various other outlets maybe for readings and all that stuff. But unfortunately, this was published, I think, June 8th or 9th of 2020, when no one was really going out anymore. So I didn't, unlike the last two books, I didn't do so many, now I'm doing readings maybe twice or once a month at least. I didn't do too many readings. I did some readings online after that. So I wasn't able to self-promote it as much besides just going on the internet and doing what I could. But yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, this is a little, it's because it's from all the writings I've had, kind of the best works in my own mind of stuff I've written up to that point when I was I think 39, and I submitted it to Kelsey.
Okay. All right, we do have another caller here, so we'll take this before we wrap things up. This call is coming from the armpit of Florida, I believe. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening, gentlemen. This is Verwayne.
Hi,
Hello, Verwayne.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I always like being on. It's always an interesting situation.
Well, we always enjoy having you on. And listeners, Verwayne was on here not too long ago, so look in that archive and find that episode. So what do you got tonight?
Well, I posted this over on X, but I'm doing a series that I call Midlife Romances. It's about couples as young as 25 and as old as in their 80s. And I've got a series of story ideas I want to use. But this one that I'm setting up right now, the couple are having a relationship issue, and they begin to communicate back and forth in 4 to 10 line poems to each other. Now, I've never done poetry, but I just have been working at it, and so far I've got about 24, 25 poems back from some from the wife, some from the husband, but I'm setting all that poetry up, and I'm finding it rather enjoyable. I've never done poetry, but it's becoming a knack now. So,
well, Peter, do you have any
advice for him
for this up and coming?
That's what I was going to ask. Any suggestions?
No, I mean that sounds really interesting, Dwayne. Yeah, I mean that's really cool. I like that idea of because poetry is a kind of way of speaking which you would never just talk to someone on the street like that, right? So it's another humans can communicate in so many ways, and this is one of the ways that it's natural, but it's not. It's almost it's not common speak, so it's subconscious. A lot of it comes out guttural in a sense. So I love that idea of kind of having that kind of communication between a husband and wife that would have the poetic communication. It's great.
It starts out where they're angry with each other and they're expressing their anger about their inability to talk to each other in poetry, and but gradually, as all good love stories do, it has a better ending than it has in its early beginnings. So
yeah.
And it's given me a wide spectrum of topics to cover.
Right. Do you feel like you write poetry differently than you write fiction? It's like when you write fiction, do you plan it more? In poetry, it's more like subconscious comes out, or is it also more? Is it planned when you write the poetry part between the husband and wife?
I have what seems to be a rather unique situation. Basically, I get an idea of where I want a story. I know how I want it to end, so I start at point A and then just blindly drive to point B, and knowing where the ultimate end is going to be, I fill in the start, or I start from the start and begin to head the story to finish the way I want it to finich, and everything else
really
just
cool.
kind of fills in.
That sounds really cool.
But
yeah,
but it's worked for me. I've never sat down and outlined the things. I just have an idea where I'm starting, and I know where I'm going to go. So, and it's like I'm formerly from Michigan, and I live in Florida, but there are about a dozen ways to get from Michigan to Florida. You can come straight down I-75, never get off the freeway except for fuel, and or you can begin to take some of those little exits and go out and explore things. And sometimes I drive straight down the freeway, and sometimes I take that exit and see what happens.
It sounds like the poetic route lets you explore what happens more. Maybe, I don't know.
Yep. The more I was listening to your how you did some of your poetry stuff and whatnot, and I'm just curious if you had any advice. Just kind of go until it felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or until it quits hurting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of trust your instincts. I mean, I think you gotta you know where it's going to end up, but then you kind of just give yourself free rein during the meantime. And I think even giving yourself more free rein and even like being a little, I don't know, would you ever like consider not having a decisive moment or place where you want it to end up and just kind of seeing where it goes? I always feel like poetry is a little more, I'm more a free form poet, so I like to see where things go more personally. And I wonder what would happen with a kind of husband-wife anger situation if you just see where it goes. Like what would happen then? And I don't know. Could that add an element to your story?
I can, as I tell people, it's my story. It'll go as I want it to go. So,
yeah,
and I feel free to go to change my mind, and sometimes I go back and take a segment out and go, no, I don't need that there because I need it over here. And, but like I said, it's I've not had too much trouble. My biggest problem has been I've learned a new way to edit, and things are getting much better. And
that's where you fix everything.
I really enjoy writing, so this is a new experiment for me.
Well, it's all about the process.
Verwain is quite prolific, so he definitely is one of these guys that was born to be a writer. So, well, thank you for calling in tonight, Verwain.
Thanks,
we are
Verwain.
getting ready to wrap things up, and it's always good to have you call in. So, take care, and send our best to Lisa as well. We hope that she's feeling better.
Yeah, she says definitely. I gave her the disease, the illness. But,
you probably
so
did.
Gets me. Yep. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Good talking to you. Bye.
All right. We've been talking to Peter F. Crowley. He's an author. He's a poet. He's an activist. We hear he's a pitcher, but he's definitely a denizen of the Boston area. He's got 3 books out there you should check out. We appreciate everybody spreading the word. Peter F. Crowley. And we're getting close to the end here. What else you got, Beem?
How about we find out how can they contact you on
That's a good question.
Like social media, email, website, blog?
Yes. Or follow you?
Yeah, I mean,
handles,
multiple ways.
websites.
You could just, honestly, you could email me directly at Pete, P-E-T-E, Fran, F-R-A-N, Crowley, C-R-O-W-L-E-Y, @gmail.com. My website is peterfcrowleyauthor.com. You can also contact me there and find out about literary readings or any other news that's happening, like publications and such. I kind of post new poems or short stories or essays that are published. I do have a Facebook page, too. I was trying to find out a nice link for it, but there's like a long number at the end. So I think you basically have to go to Facebook and search Peter F. Crowley-author to find me on Facebook. And I'm also on Twitter, but I never really post there. So I don't know. Or X, I should say.
All right, that's Peter F. Crowley, C-R-O-W-L-E-Y. So get out there and discover his books, people. And make sure you come back for our podcasts every Wednesday evening, same time, same place. Next week, we're going to have Marcia Fox, and she's got a new book out about solar eclipses. Good timing on this one. If the recent solar eclipse has got you interested in celestial events, Marcia's got the book for you. Who we got after that, Beem?
After that, we got a return visit from A.G. Fletcher. I believe he's out there in the British Columbia area of Canada, So tune in for that. He's got a new book out, and we're going to help him promote that. So tune in 2 weeks. After that, we have Story Empire contributor Sue Coletta. She's a prolific author as well. We love her stories and her books. And for the first time, we're going to have her on the podcast. That's Sue Coletta. Yeah, then following Sue, we've got Mike Deodato. He's in Brazil. So we're going to be talking taking the show international in 4 weeks. Mike Deodato from Brazil. He's a comic book illustrator and writer, and the cool thing is during the 90s he was the one that did like the Incredible Hulk and Wonder Woman for DC and Marvel. He was big time in the 90s, and he I believe got married and had started a family, and he decided to pull back from that heavy work schedule. Now he's back into it, and he's got some of his own stuff out, and he's doing some really cool stuff. So tune in to the international show, Mike Deodato from Brazil. And after that...
Yeah, well, that Mike Deodato show, if any of you know anybody who's into the history of comics and DC and Marvel and all that kind of stuff...
This is the guy to tune in for.
Yeah, this is the guy who's lived it. He'll be able to answer your questions. That'd be a good show for callers. So spread the word about that. Anybody you know who's into comics and their history. After that, we're going to have Michael Patrick Rogers. He's an author that I don't know. Never met him, never talked to him, not familiar with his work. That's one of the fun things about this show. we get to discover new people, new authors, new work, and have a good time. So Michael Patrick Rogers will be our guest after Mike Diodato. And then we got a pair of guests, Beam.
Yeah, and after that, we've got the return of Abigail H. Hugueny. She is going to be bringing along her friend and co-author on her latest, Mary L. Smalls. And this is going to be a good time. These two ladies are incredible. They put together this book on the history of the first ladies of South Carolina State University, both of them being former first ladies of South Carolina State University. And this is a historical look, and if you're a history buff, you're going to want to tune in for this one. And after that, we've got Colleen M. Story. I believe this takes us into June, doesn't it? First week of June or so? This is the last week of May there.
Last week of May, okay.
I believe that's what that is. Yeah, because May's got five Wednesdays in it. So Colleen is going to wrap up May. And then I'll start looking at June. So.
Yeah. Now, if you want to know who's coming in June and beyond, subscribe to that newsletter, people, because that newsletter has the link to the show each week. It's got all the upcoming guests. It's got the trailers. It's got the news. It's got cool graphics, lots of pictures. Might be a contest or a giveaway or two every now and then. Subscribe to that newsletter. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, and remember, that newsletter, it's just like a 20-minute read, not even that, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You know, if you want to click on those links, it might be an extra minutes because you're going to see some cool videos. But, definitely subscribe to it. Help us move this and build this, and we're looking for even bigger and better this coming year, 2024. Yeah. So get over there and subscribe.
Thanks again, Peter F. Crowley, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, wish Peter. You luck. You were a fantastic
Thank you both for having me.
Yeah.
And,
thank you, Stephen and Beem, for having me.
And here's something else, too, Peter. When you have something new coming out, send your info to our guy, Sam at freshinkgroup.com, and he will advertise it in our, promote it in our newsletter, and he'll put it up there on X and all those social media. He's the social media monster now. I'm not.
Terrific. I'll do that. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, we'll see everybody next time.
Next week, everybody.
Bye.
You're listening to The Voice of Indie.
You've been a part of Voice of Indie, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at freshinkgroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.